This way we'll likely just keep tabs from the air and just see where she's willing to go. So continuing here, still southbound, now making a right-hand turn there. So now we're westbound on Keswick from Van Nuys. Still driving in this, industrial area here. So we don't know if she's familiar or just kind of driving aimlessly around the valley. She was in Burbank at one time. So they initially lit this car up in the northern San Fernando Valley. She made her way onto the 5 freeway and drove down the 5 freeway all the way into Burbank, exited near the Empire Center before eventually just getting back on the 5 freeway, and got off in the Pacoima area, and now we're making our way through Van Nuys here on Raymer and Keswick.
All right, Rich.
Still no ground units directly behind.
If you're just joining us, it's 12:30. I'm Lou Parker along with Glenn Walker here on the KTLA 5 News at noon. We've been following this pursuit for at least about 30 minutes now. A Toyota Camry, tinted windows, allegedly a stolen vehicle. Now this vehicle is pulled over and is going to try to park again for the second time. We've seen the female driver stop and sort of, okay, so now she's making some
hand gestures
out of the window. We've seen her drive erratically on surface streets going the opposite direction, just a really erratic blowing through intersections. But I'd say the last 15 minutes or so, she did pull over and sit for a while, got out, got some notebooks out of the trunk, and maybe out of the back seat, and then sat for a while, put the sun visor in the windshield, and but then an LAPD squad unit came up behind her and she took off again. So now she's sort of doing the same thing again.
Yeah, has been driving a little bit on the wrong side of the road a few times, like on this industrial street where it's not really, as it wasn't a problem, but you can see the officer, as soon as they opened the door of the black and white unit, she took off again. Pretty much driving at some pretty safe speeds. So this is the second time she's pulled over in this general same industrial area, and we'll see what happens next. Again, the last black and white unit to pull up, she took off again, so maybe next time they'll come and they'll be able to pin her in and she won't be able to leave.
Yeah, they may opt to bring in more units this time around. We're not seeing any other people in the car, at least in the passenger seat. Didn't seem to be anybody in the rear driver's side. So you can see her kind of moving around there. I haven't necessarily seen a cell phone. There's times where they may call into the police department and try and make contact and try to explain their case, but I'm not seeing that for right now. But she did. Last time she stopped, we saw her go to the trunk, grab a couple of notebooks, bring that up to the front seat. We saw one LAPD unit try to make an approach, and that's when she took off pretty quick. And now we're only a few blocks away from that location where she initially stopped. Still not seeing any patrol cars, but again, the helicopter overhead will try and guide in as many units as they deem necessary, and it is possible they could decide to drive down the street on both ends and try and box her in. But we don't know what she's capable of. We don't know if she's going to try any sort of dangerous maneuver, as far as the squad cars. But I would imagine that they will try and make another approach here very shortly. So trying to look out the window here as to exactly where she's at. But again, we're just kind of in an industrial area. We saw her gesturing out the window, but didn't necessarily see anybody directly across the street. We're seeing a couple of people that are out here on the road. Don't think they know exactly what is happening inside that car or any sort of relation, but there are some people out here. These people, they might be in the know. It looks like they got a cell phone out here and maybe watching a little bit of coverage and was expecting this person. Oh, well, we got a couple of other people out here. This is quite interesting here. So it looks like they really are just walking right up to this Camry. Don't know if they...
they have no idea.
Kind of interesting, isn't it? Yeah, it's possible. Yeah, they're just going to continue walking here. So, but yeah, a couple of people out here on the road, you know, likely workers that are just kind of in the vicinity, making their way over to their car. And I see someone on their bike here. So, I mean, it's, you know, it's business as usual here on this little side street. Again, she's just kind of parked, not really, you know, any movements out the window. Looks like she's got all the windows up at this point. And again, it's just the waiting game of how long it's going to take to get some ground units along this street.
Well, she has to be sitting there with the engine running because you know, this time of year, I mean, she's gonna burn up sitting in that car. So she's got to be sitting there with the AC running. I would think, which is not going to help her
I would
fuel
guess
situation.
It's about 90 degrees down there right now.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you know, and you know, it is a Camry. We don't know if it's a hybrid or, you know, if it's electric or what. But yeah, I mean, it's like the vehicle can only run for so long here, and we don't know what the condition of the car was when she, you know, got into it initially. And you know, again, this is reported as a possible stolen, so you know, we'll wait and find out here. But again, you can see it's just kind of business as usual here on this little side street. We're just parallel the tracks that run down the center of the San Fernando Valley. We'll widen out here, kind of just give you a scope of what we're looking at. You can see the helicopter that's circling right overhead, so it definitely has eyes on her, and we'll let the units know as she takes off and going. But you know, she didn't put up the sunscreen this time. We saw her put up that visor last time she parked, but she's opting not to do that this time. And you can see the sun is just blaring right through the front windshield there. So again, it's just a waiting game here. We'll see how long it takes to get units in here and see if she will comply this time, or if she's going to attempt to take off once again.
And Rich, did I hear you say that likely they will just monitor, since she's parked, monitor her from the air for a moment?
Well, yes, they could do that. It's, you know, they've gone off and on in surveillance mode. So, you know, they'll have units behind, and then she'll take off, and then they opt to go back into surveillance mode. So just meaning the helicopter's keeping tabs on her, and then she came to a stop. It took, I don't know, I would say good 5-10 minutes or so before they finally brought in a Valley traffic unit to try and make an approach on the car. She took off. Now we're a few blocks away and waiting once again. So we'll see if they bring in some more Valley traffic. They'll bring in Van Nuys officers. Initially it was the mission division that lit this vehicle up somewhere in the northern portion of the San Fernando Valley before she took off and hopped onto the 5 freeway. So we know she's willing to evade. We know she's willing to drive on the wrong side of the road, and then we can see, it looks like, you see the people on the sidewalk here just across the street. They got their cell phones out, so, you know, I think they have an idea as to what's happening here. Yeah, oh, we got somebody walking the tracks here. Okay, so just somebody walking along the tracks here. But
Rich.
Yeah, there's certainly some workers out here on the street that know that she's parked here.
All right, Rich, keep an eye on the situation. We're going to take a quick break. You're watching the KTLA 5 News at noon. We'll be right back. All right, we're going to take you back to that breaking news. The LAPD in pursuit of a stolen car that apparently was on the move during a commercial break.
Let's check back in with Rich Prickett. Hi, Rich. What happened?
Hi. So shortly after we went to break, she did take off. She was driving actually pretty quick down that little surface street that we saw in the industrial area. Made it a couple of blocks, came to a stop again. It looked like she was shuffling around with the paperwork that she took out from the trunk earlier, and it looked like maybe she was getting ready to exit the car. But now here we are. We're seeing it live. She's taken off once again. We saw a couple of other cars that kind of rolled up on the street as well. We don't know if they know the person that's driving this car, or if they're just kind of watching the coverage and just trying to get, you know, in the picture. But nonetheless, she's moving once again. We were hearing some chatter from LAPD. They know that she's on the move. They're going to try and make some set up a couple of ways to prevent her from continuing to drive, but we've yet to see that. It looks like she's kind of getting boxed in here. Everyone is trying to turn around on this narrow street here. So there could be something in the roadway that we're going to see here shortly. Very shortly here. It looked like she somewhat clipped that utility truck. Still on Raymer Street around Kester. There's a Target right here on the north side of Raymer. So they definitely want to try and keep her out of. There goes the spike strip.
Oh. Back tire.
That might have been successful. Looked like rolled right underneath the rear tires there. So we'll see if we start to see some smoke here very shortly. Maybe a little rubber that starts flying off from the tires, but really picking up some speed here. About 60 miles an hour on this narrow two-way street here. So, you know, they definitely want to get her slowed down as soon as possible. And now that they have performed that spike, I think there's a good chance that they will start to bring in more units to get directly behind her. And maybe we'll see the pit at some point. But for right now, hopefully that pit or the spike strip was successful and will hopefully slow her down as she makes her way through the Van Nuys area. Again, she's somewhat making her way. It looks like another spike strip attempt here. Well, she's slowed down.
No.
Officers, Valley traffic officers have their guns drawn. They're asking her, giving her commands. So it looks like she may have her hands up here, or at least one. We'll see if she opts to get out from the car. But that spike strip, I don't know, it doesn't look like it gets entirely deployed. So I'm not sure how successful it will be if she decides to just drive forward. But she does have contact with the officers right now. And I saw a little bit of smoke there. I'm not sure if that was just something that was in her hand or not. But you see officers have their guns trained on her. And we'll just kind of wait and see if what she decides to do. But hopefully some more ground units will get in here. Maybe they can kind of box her in. It looks like we got another 2 officers here, 2 squad cars that have rolled up from the mission division. Now that they all have their guns trained on her. So, you know, as long as she complies here, doesn't try and back up into these officers, then this should end without any sort of incident. But now they're putting out another spike strip here. Officers trying to make their way around, try and get out of any sort of crossfire situation. So we may not see another officer directly in front of her until they're situated here. But you can see her just kind of hanging out the side window there, talking with officers. Doesn't look like she's ready to give up just yet, but time will tell here.
Well, the good news is at least she's got both her hands out, so she doesn't have a weapon apparently, so that's good.
Yeah, that is certainly a good sign here. That helps to calm the officers here as they because that's always a fear that she's got. Any of these drivers have something that can harm officers. So looks like why she's not using the door handle, I don't know, but out she comes through the window with everything that was in the trunk that she gathered earlier. So now she's out of the car. Looks like she's compliant at this point, backing up with her arms being shown here. Officers will still be on guard here. They don't know if anybody else is in that car, so they'll make an approach here. Ooh, that pavement's got to be hot. So yeah, so they'll have her up here in a moment, but it looks like she's down there in the felony prone position, as they call it, and officers will start to make an approach on this silver Camry in just a moment. Make sure no one else is in there. Before we know it, we should see the fingers go up, signaling a code 4, which means that this incident has come to a conclusion. So here we go, taking a look. Tough to see in there with all those tinted windows. I would imagine they asked her if anyone else was in the car, but nonetheless, they will search it anyway. And here we go. Okay. And they're going to pop the trunk here, make sure no one else is in the trunk. You can see one of those officers has one of those less than lethal rifles, in the event that they needed to use that. The odds are, she had her hands shown. She didn't show any signs of being armed, but if she decided to be resistant, then, that might be a